In the dim glow of a Paris hotel room, Jennifer's phone lit up with horror. Her sister's cruel smile, a sledgehammer poised over the shattered heart of her life's work. But as the debris fell like silent accusations, Jennifer didn't shatter. She sharpened her resolve into a weapon deadlier than steel, setting a trap that would bury her family in the ruins they craved. One signature, and their greed would seal their fate. Would she pull the trigger? Or would the house of cards collapse on her first? Jennifer's grip tightened on the phone, her knuckles whitening as if she could crush the image on the screen. Elena's face filled the display, that razor-sharp smile twisting like a knife in her gut. "This place is yours now? Stop with the boss lady act, Jennifer," Elena sneered, her voice dripping with venomous delight. Behind her, the sledgehammer leaned mockingly against the mangled corpse of the vintage brick oven. Jennifer's pride, her sanctuary, reduced to jagged rubble. Mom and Dad hovered in the background, their faces etched with false conviction. "It's outdated, dear," Mom chimed in, her tone laced with that familiar guilt trip edge. "I need a proper showroom for my floral masterpieces. You were just minding it for us. Be a good sister and sign the transfer papers, or I'll make sure everyone knows you ditched the family legacy." Jennifer's breath caught as Elena's foot lashed out, scattering a heap of debris. There, amid the chaos, lay grandmother's handwritten recipe book, pages torn, ink smeared with brick dust, a piece of her soul desecrated. Sarah, the night manager, held the phone with trembling hands, tears streaming down her face. She'd called in a panic, whispering how the parents had shown up with a locksmith, spinning lies about emergency waterproofing authorized by Jennifer herself. The betrayal burned like acid in her veins, but Jennifer forced her voice to remain a steady anchor. "Sarah, get everyone out right now," she commanded, her words a lifeline amid the storm. "Don't argue, don't engage. I'm shifting your payroll to my personal holding company, effective immediately. Your jobs are secure with me." She locked eyes with Elena one final time through the pixelated veil. No screams erupted from her throat, no furious tirade. Instead, she captured the moment, a screenshot frozen in time, Elena's triumphant glare immortalized. "Okay," Jennifer said simply, her tone flat as she ended the call. Why no outburst? Why no frantic rush to book a flight and halt the madness? To grasp it, you had to peel back the layers of her family's twisted arithmetic. For 32 grueling years, Jennifer had been the bedrock, the unyielding asset propping up their fragile world. Elena? She was the perpetual liability, the black hole swallowing resources without remorse. Yet, in their parents' eyes, it was inverted. Elena, the ethereal dream, the delicate artist forever on the cusp of brilliance, needing just one more bailout. Jennifer? Merely the engine churning out the fuel. She hadn't inherited the bakery. She'd forged it from sweat and sacrifice. No family fortune backed her, just 8 relentless years of pre-dawn alarms blaring at 3 a.m., forearms scarred with burns that throbbed like badges of endurance. Baking wasn't a hobby. It was survival in a cutthroat city that devoured dreamers whole. Nights blurred into studies of arcane municipal heritage codes, structural engineering blueprints, because their building was a Class 1 historic gem, every alteration a potential landmine. She knew each brick's whisper, every beam's burden, and the ironclad lease clauses that screamed prison time for structural sabotage. From flour-dusted grit, she'd built a valuation soaring to $250,000, a testament to her unyielding will. Elena, meanwhile, sculpted disasters. Her bespoke jewelry venture? A $40,000 sinkhole before boredom set in, beads abandoned like forgotten promises. Then came the ethical swimwear line, torpedoed by unpaid manufacturers, leaving suppliers howling for blood. Each fiasco summoned the parental plea. "Jennifer," Mom would murmur, voice heavy with manipulated remorse. "Your sister's in deep this time. We must help. It's only money. You can always bake more." And she did, every damn time. Clearing debts, covering rents, mopping up the aesthetic wreckage while Elena chased fleeting muses. The bakery? To them, a sweaty, clamorous afterthought. A cash cow for writing checks, not a legacy. Just a prime location with exposed bricks and soaring ceilings, selfishly hoarded by Jennifer. When Elena's latest whim flowered into floristry last month, the warning bells should have tolled louder. She didn't scout her own space. She coveted Jennifer's, craving the vintage allure without the grind. Sitting on that hotel bed's edge, Jennifer stared at the screenshot. Elena's face not just greedy, but righteous, as if demolishing dreams was a noble upgrade. For the first time, exhaustion eclipsed the ingrained guilt. They didn't love her. They exploited her utility. Now, deeming the asset ripe for seizure sans the operator, they discarded her like yesterday's dough. Rushing home to intervene? She'd morph into the villain, the envious sibling stomping on Elena's bloom. They'd gaslight her into apologies for defending her own blood, sweat, and bricks. No, it was time to sever the safety net. If Elena craved the throne, let her taste the thorns of consequence, the one shield Jennifer had always provided. She wasn't charging into battle. She was granting their wish, laced with invisible barbs. In the enveloping shadows of the Paris hotel room, Jennifer lingered, the city's twinkling lights mocking her turmoil. Rage surged like a tidal wave. Call the cops, summon the lawyer, charter a jet, unleash a scream to scar the night. But a mentor's wisdom echoed. In judo, facing a charging foe, don't brace and block. You'll shatter. Sidestep, seize their momentum, yank them into overextension. Let their force be their downfall. Elena barreled forward with hammer and hubris, a lifetime of coddled entitlement her weapon. Halting her would cast Jennifer as the monster, Elena the weeping martyr. Parents would decry jealousy, bricks over blood. The script unchanged, Jennifer the cold-hearted hoarder. So, she chose to amplify the rush. Laptop open, no flight booked. Instead, a legal template unfurled. If Elena demanded ownership, she'd inherit the full weight, glory and guts, assets and abyss. The document masqueraded as capitulation, transfer of management and renovation rights, a white flag to untrained eyes. But Jennifer knew her sister's blind spots. Fine print was fog if dollars dazzled. At the apex, the lure. Upon execution, $15,000 operating cash releases to the project manager for renovation. A sum to ignite Elena's fantasies of exotic blooms already queued in her mind, a lottery win in ink. Then, the venom concealed. Buried in Section 4, Clause 4.2, project manager assumes full personal liability for structural changes, code breaches, heritage adherence. And Section 6, Clause 6.1, guarantors indemnify landlord and prior lessee for all heritage damages up to lease value. Email dispatched to parents and Elena, tone laced with feigned defeat. You win. I'm exhausted from the fray. The space is yours. Sign to unlock the cash and scrub my name from bills. Funds yours, post signature. Heart thundering, not terror, but the rush of the wager. Jennifer staked her empire on their avarice. A lawyer's glance or page 2 skim could unravel it all. Minutes ticked like a bomb's fuse. Ping! Document signed, Elena Hart. Ping! Robert Hart. Ping! Susan Hart. No scroll, no scrutiny, just greed's hasty scrawl on their doom decree. Staring at the timestamps, a chill settled. Not joy, a grim closure. They'd toasted their triumph, oblivious to the pyre they'd lit. For the next 2 weeks, Jennifer became a shadow in her own life. Paris unfolded around her, cafes buzzing with laughter, the Seine glittering under bridges, but she saw none of it. The hotel room curtains stayed drawn, the only light the cold blue glow of her laptop screen. She barely ate, barely slept. Instead, she watched Elena dismantle her world, one Instagram story at a time. The notifications came relentlessly. Elena didn't just renovate, she staged a spectacle. Liberating this gem from its dusty past, one caption read, beneath a shaky video of a contractor swinging the sledgehammer into the imported Italian tiles Jennifer had fought months to source. Shards flew like shrapnel. Another clip, the load-bearing brick wall crumbling under repeated blows. Sometimes you have to tear down the old to let the beautiful in, Elena beamed to the camera, dust powdering her perfect hair like fresh snow. Her followers flooded the comments, heart eyes, fire emojis, visionary queen, while mom and dad chimed in with strings of praise. So proud of our girl's courage. Bold move, Elena. Jennifer's stomach twisted with every frame. She could almost smell the settling dust, hear the groan of the ancient timbers protesting the assault. That wall wasn't decoration. It was the spine holding up the entire second floor, the upper apartments rented by quiet families who trusted the building's century-old bones. Removing it without permits, without engineers, without even basic shoring? Criminal. Felony-level reckless endangerment in a Class 1 heritage site. Every instinct screamed at her to act. Call Elena, scream a warning, beg her to stop before the ceiling caved and someone died. But then she remembered Clause 4.2, the poison pill she'd buried so carefully. One word of advice, one hint of involvement, and she could be dragged back into liability. No, she had to vanish completely, become smoke. Let them smoke the hammer until gravity collected its toll. She wasn't idle, though. Fingers flying across keys, she navigated the municipal directory in incognito mode. No dramatic 911 call. That would trigger questions, paperwork, her name. Instead, the anonymous building safety hotline. Voice low, professional, stripped of emotion. I'm reporting an imminent structural collapse hazard at a Class 1 heritage property. Unauthorized demolition of a primary load-bearing wall is in progress right now. Address, 42 High Street. Live visual evidence is on the Instagram account Elena Blooms. Check the stories. The dispatcher's tone shifted instantly. Class 1? Occupied upper floors? Yes, Jennifer answered. A pause, then urgency. We're dispatching a priority team. Thank you for the report. She hung up, exhaled slowly, and booked her return flight. Time to land the night before the grand opening. Not to prevent the disaster, to witness the aftermath. The days dragged. Elena's posts grew more triumphant. She unveiled floral arches where the old oven once stood, fairy lights strung across gaping holes in the ceiling. New era begins tomorrow, she wrote. Come celebrate the rebirth. Jennifer saved every clip, every caption, every timestamp. evidence stacking like bricks in reverse. She arrived home under cover of darkness, rented a nondescript car, checked into another anonymous hotel. No visits to the old place, no contact, just waiting. At 9:30 the next morning, she parked across the street, engine off, windows cracked. The bakery, now Elena Bloom's, looked like a Pinterest dream. Gleaming windows framed cascades of pink peonies and ivory roses. A crisp white ribbon stretched across the double doors. Valet attendants in crisp shirts directed arriving cars. Influencers in pastel dresses posed for selfies, champagne flutes already in hand. Inside, through the glass, Elena held court, radiant in a flowing white dress, glass raised, surrounded by admirers. Jennifer pulled up the live stream on her phone. Elena's voice floated out, thick with rehearsed emotion. "I just want to thank my parents. They believed in my vision when no one else would. They helped me liberate this space from its dark, industrial past and turn it into something full of light and life." Robert stood beside her, arm around her shoulders, beaming like he'd won a prize. Susan circulated among guests, smiling sweetly. "We had to step in. Jennifer was so burnt out. She just didn't have the energy anymore. Elena has breathed new life into it." Jennifer's jaw clenched so hard her teeth ached. They weren't just stealing her work. They were erasing it, rewriting 8 years of her life into a footnote of failure. The hubris was suffocating. But then the camera panned slowly across the room, and Jennifer saw what the guests, too busy sipping and posing, hadn't yet noticed. Above the sleek new archway where the brick wall once stood, a fine white mist drifted down. Plaster dust. And in the exact center of the exposed ceiling beam, a hairline crack snaked outward, jagged, widening, like lightning frozen mid-strike. The building was breathing its last shallow breaths. The timber groaned faintly, a low moan only someone who knew its voice could hear. Jennifer checked her watch. 9:55. A black sedan eased to the curb a few spaces down. Mr. Sterling, her attorney, stepped out, calm, immaculate, leather folio in hand. 2 minutes later, a white city van screeched into the loading zone. The chief building inspector emerged, high visibility vest blazing, face thunderous. He hated weekend call-outs, especially for emergencies. Behind him, a cruiser disgorged officers, a wall of clipboards, badges, and authority marching toward the entrance. Inside the live stream, Elena lifted her glass. "To new beginnings." The doors burst open. Music cut. Conversation died. The inspector strode through the sea of flowers, laser measure already out, aimed at the sagging beam. Someone hissed, "Cut the feed!" Elena didn't. She froze, glass trembling in her hand. The trap had snapped. The shop fell into a stunned hush, the kind that descends when prey finally scents the predator. Champagne flutes hovered midair. Laughter choked off. The chief inspector, broad-shouldered, face carved from granite, marched straight through the floral wonderland without a glance at the arrangements. His laser measure beeped as he aimed it upward at the sagging beam. Dust sifted down in slow, accusing motes, settling on peonies like ash. "Everyone out, now!" he barked. "This is a code-red structural failure. Building is unsafe. Evacuate immediately." The fire marshal pushed past a cluster of influencers, ignoring Susan's outstretched, pleading hand. He stopped beneath the torn archway, eyes narrowing at the widening cracks spiderwebbing across the ceiling. A low groan rolled through the timbers, audible now, ominous. He peeled a fluorescent orange sticker from his clipboard and slapped it onto the front glass with a crack that echoed like a gunshot. "Unsafe. Do not enter. Structurally compromised." "Immediate evacuation," he repeated louder. "This is now a crime scene pending investigation." Chaos erupted in slow motion. Guests stumbled backward, heels clicking frantically on the tile. A vase toppled. Water surged across the floor, soaking Elena's white dress at the hem. She staggered, eyes wide, the champagne glass slipping from numb fingers to shatter at her feet. On the live stream, still rolling, forgotten, the camera caught every second. Elena's face crumpled from smug radiance to raw terror. She spun toward the nearest phone tripod, voice cracking into a shriek. "It's not mine! It's my sister's! Jennifer Hart! She owns the lease! Arrest her!" Robert and Susan surged forward in perfect unison. "Jennifer was the owner!" Susan cried, voice shrill with panic. "We were just helping clean up her mess. She abandoned it." The words landed like stones in Jennifer's chest, but they didn't pierce. They confirmed. Everything she'd suspected, everything she'd armored herself against. They would always rewrite the story to cast her as the villain. Then the back door opened quietly. Mr. Sterling stepped into frame, tall, unruffled, the leather folio open like a surgeon's kit. He raised a small remote. Elena's projected logo winked out. In its place, a crisp PDF bloomed across the screen, magnified for all to see. "Actually, Inspector," Sterling said, voice calm as still water, "that's inaccurate." He tapped. Clause 4.2 enlarged. "The project manager assumes full personal, legal, and structural liability for all alterations, code violations, and heritage compliance." Another tap. A payment receipt. $15,000 operating cash transferred and accepted by Elena Hart for immediate renovation costs. "The contract was executed voluntarily," Sterling continued. "Signatures time-stamped, funds released. The transfer of management and renovation rights took effect the moment they signed." Elena stared at her own digital signature, mouth working soundlessly. Sterling clicked again. An Instagram story from 2 days prior autoplayed. Elena laughing, sledgehammer in hand, dust swirling. "I decided the wall had to go. It was blocking my vision." The room's silence shifted from confusion to something colder, horror. Guests edged toward the exits, phones recording now for different reasons. The chief inspector stepped forward, citation already prepared. "Demolition of a Class 1 heritage structure without permits is a felony. That's a minimum $300,000 fine, plus emergency shoring and restoration costs." He handed the paper to Elena. It trembled in her fingers before slipping to the wet floor. I don't have that money," she whispered. The landlord's legal representative materialized next, gray suit, colder eyes. "Due to criminal negligence, we're invoking the acceleration clause. Remaining 3 years of lease due immediately. $180,000. Susan let out a wail that cut through the murmurs. "We can't! We don't!" Sterling zoomed to the final page. Clause 6.1 glowed. "Guarantors, Robert Hart and Susan Hart, agree to indemnify the landlord and previous leaseholder for all damages to the heritage site up to the full lease value." He looked at Robert almost gently. "If the primary obligor can't pay, liability transfers to your assets. The bank will place a lien on your primary residence by Monday." Robert's face drained of color. He stared at the signatures, at Elena sobbing amid ruined flowers, at the security camera in the corner, and finally understood. Jennifer wasn't just absent. She was watching. 3 days later, the insurer's decision landed like a guillotine. 1-page letter. Claim denied. Coverage voided due to intentional illegal acts by the policyholder's authorized agent. Elena's bragging videos had just saved the company $500,000. Within 30 days, the Hart's house was listed for foreclosure to cover structural repairs and accelerated rent. They moved into a cramped rental on the city's frayed edge, still blaming Elena, never their choices, never their greed. Elena filed for bankruptcy. Her influencer glow vanished the instant the police report leaked. Brands ghosted her. Landlords wouldn't return calls. The sledgehammer clip became a meme, when your aesthetic kills your lease. She tried to spin it as Jennifer tricking her, but the internet had receipts. Receipts don't lie. Jennifer didn't lose. Her business interruption policy kicked in the moment the city red-tagged the property. Because the damage stemmed from a third-party contractor, as defined in the deceptive transfer, the payout processed swiftly, full amount, no quibbles. She took the check and did what she'd quietly planned long before they tried to steal her life. Leased a no-frills industrial unit on the edge of town. Concrete floors, high ceilings, serious deck ovens built for volume. No charming heritage bricks, no foot traffic, just production, efficiency, control. Yesterday morning, the new space smelled of proofing yeast and quiet victory. Sarah, now running operations, salary doubled, pulled golden croissants from the oven, steam curling like smoke signals. "Orders are up 20% already," she said, smiling for the first time in weeks. Jennifer didn't send a manifesto, just 2 lines in the family group chat attached to the insurer's denial notice. You wanted the space? You own the consequences. Then she blocked them. Mother, father, Elena. 1 tap each. Phone silenced, she walked to the butcher block table, sank her hands into warm, living dough, and began to shape it. The rhythm steady, the scent rising. Hers. For the first time in 32 years, the only hands pulling at her were her own. Have you ever had to watch someone destroy what you built, just to teach them what consequences really feel like? Drop your story in the comments. I'm reading every one.